A Russian train full of fuel goes up in a blaze of fire and smoke, struck by Ukrainian drones. This new era of warfare combines high-tech with close-quarters combat harking back to the First World War. The same brigade that took part in the train strike is also fighting in the trenches. Infantry squad commander Yevgeny returned at 5 in the morning from a deadly 6-man attack on a Russian position.
Був один 200 з моєї групи. Так.
One of my men was killed, he says. 2 took shrapnel. 2 of us got concussions from drone attacks and mortar fire. His men managed to kill a Russian soldier, then had to withdraw, and came here, well underground, where the war is barely audible. This complex of bunkers and trenches is not the front line. It's well away in the rear. The purpose is that they will be ready in the event the Russians push forward. And what we're hearing from senior Ukrainian officials is that they fear that the Russians are preparing for a major push in the Zابوريجيا area. Until then, this is where troops from the 65th Mechanized Brigade rest and recuperate. Cramped and stuffy, yet safe, the cats welcome company, also keeping the mice at bay. They're resting up for their next mission, defending the town of Orikhiv, or what's left of it. Only 800 of its original 14,000 residents remain. Alexander is the only handyman left, with plenty to keep him busy.
Окна, двери.
Windows, doors, roofs. You can see for yourself. Everything needs repairs, he says. In the town's post office, the last vestige of normalcy, we meet Lyudmila, who lives alone with her 2 dogs. Her day started with shelling. When it hit, I thought that was the end of everything, she says. To lighten her mood, I share pictures of hobbies and pets. These are my potatoes. Communicating in a linguistic hodgepodge.
Хорошо.
Хорошо? Mashallah, not too bad, huh? Se llama Argo. Argo. We shared a laugh. Her dog, Alpha, shell-shocked, was unmoved. Far away as the powerful talk war and peace, here the powerless can only hold on and hope to live another day.
This was a really big one, Erica. This is the biggest combined air attack involving attack drones and missiles since really early July. We'd seen a big attack on Monday night involving 200 plus drones. This was more than double the size. 574 drones, according to Ukraine's Air Force, and 40 missiles, of which they did shoot down most of them, but there were hits, and I think the targets are really notable to point out because we're talking about the targets including Ukraine's westernmost regions, bordering NATO countries. Lviv, that's close to the border with Poland. We had the region of Zakarpattia, which borders Slovakia and Romania and Hungary. A town, Mukachevo, was hit that's about 30 kilometers as the crow flies from the Hungarian border. And there, Zelensky says, an American enterprise making consumer electronics was targeted, where 10 people were injured. So look, Ukraine's Air Force did manage to avert a lot of these strikes, but it is still notable that this is the second big attack we've seen in the 6 days since those Alaska talks. And of course, it comes, as you say, as Russia has essentially spent the week pouring cold water on what the US has touted as its key achievements coming out of both Alaska and the White House talks in terms of the bilateral meeting. We've heard now a number of times from the Russian side and reaffirmed by Sergei Lavrov on Wednesday that they hadn't actually offered a meeting. They're just talking about raising the seniority of the officials involved in direct talks. Of course, we've seen that Russia has sent a pretty low-level delegation so far to the direct talks in Istanbul, and that any bilateral meeting between the 2 leaders, he said, would need most careful preparation, which means they're setting conditions to put in front of that. Zelensky, meanwhile, says that he will meet with Putin, and he will compromise on the idea of having a ceasefire in place first, which is something that his European colleagues had been pushing quite hard for in that White House meeting on Monday. But he does want security guarantees in place first. And this is something that Lavrov also spoke about on Wednesday, saying that any talk of security guarantees, and we know that work has stepped up to come up with a concrete plan on that, but any talk of security guarantees, Lavrov says, must involve Russia. So, look, I think the point here is that Russia has given up nothing to get to this point. It's now pushing for more concessions and meanwhile, as you say, ramping up the military pressure.
How long is Trump willing to wait and operate in good faith for Putin to actually arrange a meeting before he intervenes?
Look, the president has put tremendous public pressure to bring this war to a close. He has scoffed at the ideas of others that have been raised that we should wait another month before any meeting takes place. The president wants to move, and he wants to bring this war to an end as quickly as possible.
The reason why this is critical is because there are a lot of concerns, not just from U.S. officials, but really worldwide officials, that putting a meeting like this out there without a date or time gives Putin the opportunity to continue to kick the can down the road. And as he draws out this process, more and more people are likely to die, because that is what we've really seen every day since this war has continued. Carolyn Levitt did not really answer that question specifically. She said that she feels that President Trump has been stern with the Russian president, made it clear that he has to have this sit down as levied or threatened. Sanctions, just a reminder, that has been threatened, but only the actual sanctions on India have been put in place, these secondary sanctions. Everything else has been put on hold, but no real timeline on how long he was willing to wait.